With longtime short seller Carson has laid out a bearish case for the company in a new report, including on subjects like reorder rates from XL's customers and what Block says are the company's rosy projections. Now, XL Fleet, we should say, straight up refutes these claims, saying the report contains numerous factual inaccuracies, misleading statements, and flawed conclusions. The report should not be relied upon by existing or potential investors seeking to make an informed investment decision. We wanted to tell you that before we talk to this man. Carson Block is joining us, Muddy Waters Capital CEO, and we want to walk through this report. But I want to walk through some of these issues that they're raising questions about. But Carson, in the broadest sense, make the case that you have a problem with this company's valuation.
Well, the problem isn't the valuation. The problem is how they got there, and they got there through dishonesty. This is a company that has misrepresented its pipeline. It's misrepresented the benefits that its customers experience, and that's how it's gotten there in terms of valuation. If the company had been more accurate, had not been attempting to mislead and deceive and had this valuation, okay, hey, nothing to do. But when we see a situation in which there's actual deception, misrepresentation, then for us, there's something to do. And that's why we've gone public and we've shorted XL.
Right. What do you think what you said is not just a valuation issue, because you think there's some underlying issues, of course, that's the supposition. What do you think the proper valuation for this company should be?
I don't know what the real pipeline is. I mean, look, the company did $7 million in revenue in 2019. When they went public by SPAC, in late last year, they said in 2024 we're going to do 1.4 billion in revenue. I mean, that, okay, well, how do you get there? And they said, well, we can bridge that by pointing to our pipeline, which is $220 million. But the problem is, when we've spoken to former employees, they've told us that the pipeline is greatly exaggerated, that the company would deliberately go in, or managers of the company would either make salespeople or they do it themselves. They would go in and they would put in orders that just aren't actually going to be there, and they would greatly increase probabilities of sales. So the backlog, which is really, or the pipeline, which is really the linchpin from going from this, 7 million to 1.4 billion in 5 years, it seems like it's fictitious. Or, so what portion of it is real? We don't know. It sounds like a significant portion of it is not, but in no way can I see this company being worth what it is today based on this fundamental deception, as well as deceptions around how effective their product is.
Let me ask you too, though, maybe more directly. At what point would you, if you succeed, if this stock goes from $11.68 to $8, $5, I'm making this up, do you get out at that point? That's why I'm asking you what you think the fair value for the company is.
I mean, we'll cover positions ultimately when we feel like there's no more traction we can get from a campaign. So typically that period is between 6 months and 18 months after we initiate a position. So, I mean, where do I think it's going to end up in the future? I think it's going to be a $2, $3 stock at some point, but there's obviously a lot of frothiness in the environment here right now, and $2, $3 is predicated on at least some of the air coming out of that.
I should ask you, by the way, before we get into some more of these details, what you think, just as a short seller in this market, given that we've seen what's happened with GameStop and so many other companies where there have been short squeezes, has that changed the dynamic at all for you in terms of how you approach a company? Yes,
but that really started last year, when we were short some company, we were short GSX, China, total fraud listed in the US, and it ripped on us, and that was new. Another company that we went short in October, Nanox, which is also highly scammy, has gone up a decent bit. It's come back down, but that told us that there's a lot going on in the market that has nothing to do with fundamentals, and it's really technical. So we've gotten into, just coming into this year before GameStop, we were thinking a lot about flows and how passive and and ETFs are really warping markets. So when we saw GameStop, yeah, I think that's just the 5-alarm fire saying that these markets are really divorced in many cases from the fundamentals of the underlying assets. So it's just
we're showing, by the way, on the screen right now. I don't know if you can see GameStop shares, which are now at $274 again. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it makes sense. Obviously, GameStop is a much better company than it was in December. I mean, that's just a sign of, look, maybe Melvin was wrong. Maybe it was, worth more than $10 a share. But come on, this is a sign that there's some serious dysfunction in our markets right now.
And what do you make of the larger sort of phenomenon, which is there is a group of investors that are out there saying that short selling shouldn't be allowed? You coming on this show with a campaign to push down this stock, potentially put this company out of business, that is not the American way.
It's funny because the other side of that is, I mean, my perspective, you're effectively then saying, well, cheating, scamming, exaggerating, and getting money for it is the American way. I got into this business 11 years ago by helping to eliminate a number of frauds from China that were listed in the US. We have globally 8 delistings of companies and 2 other regulatory actions that have led to sanctions. So that, to me, seems to be pretty American when we're out there protecting investors. But we have to remember, it's not only predators from China who take advantage of investors here. There are also domestic players as well. I mean, and look, to be clear, I'm not saying that the people behind XL are as craven as these guys in China against whom there's zero recourse, but it's not that many degrees removed. So if we're out there trying to expose and remove the economic incentives for small number of people to take
Carson,
advantage of this of naivete, that's American.